How you doing, Craig? That's good, Craig. Anyways, welcome back. It's been another minute, but that's how it's gonna be from here on out. To be honest, basically, you're doing an episode whenever we feel like it, or myself. Um, you know, that's how it be though. Life be getting in the way sometimes, but that's all good. Life is good, bruh. That's good. Anyways, want to do a short episode probably. Just talking about the main game I've been playing. Kiwi's been playing. Donkey's been playing. Um, but yeah. So welcome back to the Believe Me If You Don't podcast. Like I said, it's been a minute. Took a few weeks off, mainly to play this game, and that game is called The First Descendant. Came out July 2nd. It's basically a looter shooter. If you want to think of anything, think of like Destiny, honestly. So, and the funny thing is about it, there has been some controversy that First Descendant copied a lot of Destiny's icons and stuff. So, but I'm sure a lot of video games, honestly, are copied assets over, just like the music industry. It's bound to happen because there's such few genres out there, and everyone wants to make like a quick buck in a sense, and they want to just capture an audience. So, First Descendant, it's made by Nexon Games. I think if you know anything about Nexon, I believe they made the Maple Story series, and that's huge from what I hear. Never played Maple Story, but it's huge. So when this came on, I feel like this was definitely not in their normal realm. However, Kiwi and I both played a couple of the betas, and we thought it was decent. We just, needed to really get to know the end game, and that's how a lot of these multiplayer MMO style games are. You judge them really based off of their gameplay loop and their end game, you know. And there's just a couple to mention that sadly flared out, and didn't carry on. Anthem, it was a beautiful, it was a great, it could have been one of the best like looter shooters out there. I definitely think it could have competed with Destiny. However, just like most games these days, they don't have enough content. They promised too many things, and they definitely didn't get the backing from EA and whatnot. But overall, Anthem had pretty good gameplay. The exploration through the suits were awesome. The hub sucked ass. Wasn't there anything there, so you know. But they gave up on it, and there just wasn't enough content for it. It sucks because I know Donkey really loved that game, and as did the rest of us. So I wish EA would have poured a little bit more into it. Um, but hopefully BioWare can redeem themselves finally with Dragon Age Veilguard coming out this year. So, and then another one, Outriders. It was another looter shooter with like powers and stuff. Square Enix actually made it. That's definitely outside of their realm too. However, they could have took from Anthem and just applied it, but once again, they promised way too much and couldn't keep up with it. And it sucks because personally, like I loved exploration with Anthem, but Outriders I think was a little bit more fun with the powers and being more ground based and stuff. So it sucks that some of these games don't really pan out. But overall, the First Descendant, is that it came out on July 2nd, so we've been playing it for the last few weeks. And the gunplay is the biggest thing, and overall it's pretty good. Um, the story, I did not pay attention at all. Skipped every cutscene, and I'm sure everyone else did. You'll have a few, I'm sure, that paid attention to the cutscene and trying to pay attention to the story. But it's I don't really care for that. Just like the same thing that happened whenever I played Destiny and Destiny 2. It's not something I pay attention to in shooters, I would say. More of a MMO RPG type style that I would pay attention to. The cutscenes, the story, actually watch videos on it. So, but the main thing is getting to level 40, completing the story of it, and essentially you go through several zones, and it is very repetitive because each there is big zones, and then there is like little zones within the big zones, and so each big zone is broken down, and you complete certain quests which are kind of the same. You go and retrieve things, you stay with a bot to protect it, you clear out enemies, you put resources into a little thing. They're all the same. There are different enemy types and stuff, so that kind of broke the loop, if you would say. But overall, it kind of had the same formula. You go there, do the two to four missions, go back and talk to the people in the hub, and then you continue on until the end, where you would get like a dungeon, and then once you completed the zone, you go back to the hub and you actually face off against a boss. So with First Descendant, you can play it solo. Um, if you're good enough and your build's good enough, you can definitely solo everything, even on hard mode. There is 2 difficulty, which is great, but you can solo anything once you have the right build, but you can play up to 4 players. Within these boss arenas, it's definitely, for first timers, recommended to do 4 players, and to have 4 or 3 other friends. So once you've completed an entire zone, you go back to the hub and face off against this boss in a generated arena. There's only a few of them, so that is one criticize I would say. I feel like each boss should have their own arena because they're not big, so it shouldn't be too hard to create assets for smaller arenas and stuff like that. But I understand. And basically, each boss has a certain. They have different uh, abilities. However, basically all of them have certain weak points, and you can highlight them so you know what you actually need to shoot. They have a couple. I think it's probably all of them have just 2 phases once you get them down to a certain percentage. So that's good. I think they should have changed them. So you have normal mode bosses, then you have hard mode, and hard mode essentially is the same ones, just recycled in a different order. There are a couple changes to different bosses, but they're just essentially harder. So, but like I said, once you finish the story, you try to get to max level, which is 40, and then you're trying to get a better build every so often to continue down the boss line. So even though your character only goes to level 40, your guns and these other components, like your reactor, your external components, they go up to level 100. And then the bosses are scaled to go past level 100, just to make it a little bit harder, essentially. And, the bosses on hard mode, honestly, are no joke. If you don't have the right resistance, you're going to get murdered over and over and over. And in these boss fights, you have a limited amount of deaths throughout your entire team. So, that's good. So you don't just stay in there the whole time. That'd be kind of dumb. Um, but Yes, your guns, your components, they all go up to level 100. And then once you've got them to level 100, it's up to you to basically min max them. And this is definitely where I'm sure a lot of people will find the most criticisms with the game, but I understand them. This game really is about, playing any character you want and building out your character how you want. But to get those items, you have to farm and grind a lot. So I think that is what they are banking on, just from a content perspective, because you can go through the story in a day, if quicker than that, depending on how much you play. And then, you know, it's all about building out your character and then unlocking other characters or other descendants. And how you go about that is basically finding certain components throughout the world and certain events and certain quests and dungeons and stuff. And then you research those components. You have to have so many components put together, and then you can research the Descendant. And I think it takes a full 24 hours. I could be wrong about that, maybe 12 hours to research that Descendant. So it's not just like maybe a fighting game or something that you beat an opponent and then you unlock them, or if you complete just a certain scenario, you unlock them. They want you to farm certain components within the game to unlock that descendant. And then you move on to the next one, essentially. And each one has a different um, amount and different components that you have to unlock. So it kind of spreads you out, which is great. However, just a lot of it is farming the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And that can become very repetitive and very boring to some. Now that, because the funny thing is, Kiwi Donkey Aaron actually and I are playing it. And Aaron and I are struggling a little bit because it is very monotonous and doing the same thing over and over to farm these certain materials just to unlock something. It almost feels like we've hit a complete wall because we are farming these certain materials or something, but it doesn't feel like we're progressing enough to go down the line, which is ultimately just to beat those bosses. And I do think that's where they're going to run into issues if they are going to pump out content. And it sounds like so far that they have a pretty good roadmap of putting out a new Descendant, a mega dungeon, and everything like that. However, if you do end up having this same loop of farming and people who don't want to farm, I get it. There are absolutely some people who want to farm the crap out of this and unlock everything. But I feel like there should be some easier ways to progress through those bosses. Because that's the ultimate goal, in terms of just a gameplay standpoint, is to just beat those bosses and be done from a content standpoint. However, I understand that you also want to unlock these descendants. Um, and just some of the loops of the farming stuff you have to do. So you're able to hold 3 different guns. They can be the exact same type of ammo. You can have 3 of the same if you want to. That'd be stupid. Or you can have 3 different ones. I think there is general rounds, special rounds. I forget what the orange ones are. And you have purple, which is like heavy. But essentially, you want to have 3 different weapons. But basically, each one of those weapons you can maximize by putting modules on them, and those modules will help you up your DPS for that particular gun. However, there's two bigger components to that. One, you have to get an activator, which is the hardest thing to farm. That ups the amount of modules you can put in there. And then there is something called crystallization catalysts that allow certain mod slots to be cut in half. And then we'll say you've upgraded an entire one particular mod to 16. If you do the catalyst, it'll cut it in half and it'll go down to 8. You have a certain amount of module HP, I guess you could say, that you can deal with. So, like right now, I think I have a max of like 65 or something. So, I can put in several different mods to get up to 65, or I could put certain mods that I've upgraded myself to get up to 65. And, there's like hundreds of mods. So, like I said, each one of those weapons that you have to, and there's several within each, not section, but each gun type or ammo type that you have, you have to break those down. And like I said, the activators, you can only do one for each, which is great, but those are the hardest thing to farm. And then the catalysts, you have to do, basically to have a fully maximized one, I would assume you have to have like 6 to 8 catalysts. And the catalysts take, I forget how many hours to research. So, yeah. And then, obviously, it's all based on RNG for you to go kill something, and it drops with random stats on it. You can re-roll the stats. They become more expensive as you re-roll them. And you only want certain ones. But apparently you want certain. So I'll just use an example. There's this LMG that we have. It may not be the best right now because of the new update, but the one that we've been farming, you want that one. However, you want to have several because each one needs to have a different element, like a fire one, a toxic one. I don't think there might be a frost one. Basically, you want several of those. Now, the good thing is, say the tamer, I put an activator in it, it'll affect every single tamer I have. If you had to farm activators for every single one of the same weapon you had, that would be impossible. Like it would be just ridiculous. It's already hard enough, honestly, but that is pretty much my biggest, not gripe, but criticism I can say is the whole grinding, because it's completely RNG. Yes, you absolutely know where to go to farm these items and the percentage of the drop rates and everything like that, but it is truly farming it for those percentages. Like there's one, there's a blueprint actually that I need that's a 3% drop rate, and I've done it probably 15 times and haven't gotten a single one. I understand that's still not good odds, 15 of the 3%, but it's just, I feel like there should be a way maybe to up that a little bit more. So, but overall, I've absolutely had fun with the game for the past few weeks. It's slowed down significantly for me just because of the farming aspect. I'm having to definitely put something on to watch, especially late at night or whatever. But I think Kiwi and Donkey are loving it, and that's great that they have another game to play and really grind on. I just hope they don't get burnt out because of the amount of farming that they're having to do. And, the ultimate goal, like I said, is to get through those bosses. So hopefully they can do that too. It'd be nice if they can just carry me as well. But we'll see. I'm not going to ask that. They can do that. I'll be a part of their farming every so often. So Um, but yeah, overall the game is absolutely fun, and the good thing is to say it is free to play. There are some microtransactions and stuff like that to actually advance you through the things. If you've basically played any mobile game where like what's that stupid tower game, or Clash of Clans. You get to a certain point, you farmed everything out, and it's asking you to either pay or wait for the research time to come down. So you can do that in this game. They are expensive. You can actually pay to get the Descendants too. There are regular ones and then there's ultimate ones. The ultimate ones are only slightly better than their normal versions. So, and this is a strictly PvE game. So I don't see any harm in them offering those options for you to progress through that if you want to, or if you want to just go about it the normal way. Which is just playing the game. It may just take you a lot longer, but it's good to have those options, but also not really affect the game as a whole. So, but yeah, probably be playing this game for at least here on and off for several more months, honestly, because I know they got more Descendants they want to put out. They got the mega dungeon they want to put out. I'm sure they'll put out some kind of raid boss. So, but yeah. In other news, I was able to convince Kiwi to get Strangers of Paradise. I can't wait for whenever we get to play that and for him to see the amount of memes that game brought to us. Overall, it is a fun ass game to begin with. It's very memey, but it's also Final Fantasy, so that's great. I know the new WoW expansion's coming up next month, so we'll probably lose Donkey in a sense, but it's a new WoW expansion, and I'm sure he wants to explore that and stuff. So hopefully this one's a little bit better. We can only ask Blizzard to do so much, but they continue to try and reinvent the wheel every single time for whatever reason, when they should just take the good shit and put it to this new one every single time. But whatever. Um, and then Jordan, I believe, is off playing the new Final Fantasy expansion. I think it's an expansion. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it is. So he's deep into that. Um, Luckily, he was able to beat Elden Ring and everything right before this expansion came out. So hopefully, he gets to dive deep into Final Fantasy expansion. Rack is off racking. He's being rack and doing rack things. So, good for him. For me, I think, like I said, I'll play the First Descendant for a little bit. Whenever Kiwi gets bored, we may dive into Stranger Paradise. And then I do believe Black Myth Wukong will probably be my next console game. It comes out, let's see. It comes out August 20th. So definitely looking forward to that. I've never played or really read into any Chinese mythology, but I'm sure they have some crazy ass stuff. And as long as the gameplay is pretty good, I highly doubt it. If it's anything like, I know it's not going to be as open world as Elden Ring, which is great, but if it can bring the combat of Elden Ring, but in a faster pace, kind of like Sekiro, then I'm sure it will do great. Let's see. Upcoming games. Let's see. Do Black Myth, Star Wars Outlaws. Probably won't play that. Astrobot, which is funny enough. a lot of people are really looking forward to that with PS5. Warhammer, I think, comes out in September. I know Kiwi and Jordan are really looking forward to that one. Hopefully, it goes well for them. Personally, for the rest of the year, I definitely want to try, and once I get a little bit more downtime, jump back into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to get the hard mode stuff done. I know I think I may have screwed myself, but it's whatever at this point. And then finally go back and beat the second DLC to Final Fantasy 16. That game was phenomenal last year. The first DLC was pretty good. It actually corrected a lot of things, and I've heard good things about the second one. And I just want to, be. That's the bad thing about these days with games coming out with DLCs and stuff. Especially single player ones, you beat it and you kind of set it aside and you honestly forget about it. But as much as I love Final Fantasy 16, I want to finish it out before I can fully move on from it and trade it in and stuff. So that'll be on my radar. And then if there's nothing else major coming out this year, I probably want to get back to Kingdom Hearts. I was able to complete 2 of the games of the series. I know there's freaking 10, and I'm on the third one, but it just got so boring because it's the 358 one, and it's a bunch of cutscenes. It's almost a story game. So I want to get back into that just because I love Square Enix, and I do love Disney properties. So, and I never got to play them, and I also made fun of people who played Kingdom Hearts, but it has a real charm about it. So I definitely want to get back into that. And now looking at my freaking desktop, funny enough, I would like to actually get back into Pal World because they had their recent update slash kind of expansion, or DLC you want to say, to it a couple weeks ago, and it's major, adding a whole new island, several pals, some more guns and stuff, and mechanics in your bases. Definitely want to get back into that, but that one's a little bit harder to get back into just because I kind of wish they would finally get into their dedicated servers and stuff so Aaron could finally join me, or anybody. They could just be on the server whenever I'm not on the server if they wanted to play. So, but yeah, I will quit rambling. Just wanted to get on here and talk about what I've been doing. No one was able to join me tonight, which is perfectly fine. They're off, I'm sure, playing, at least Kiwi and Donkey probably playing First Descendant. So I may go join them on there and farm a little bit more. But as always, thank you all for listening. Give us feedback on anything. It'll help us out, but also it's not going to hurt our feelings if you do criticize us or whatever. We definitely do this podcast just to casually do it. We don't do it for income. We don't, do it for job or anything like that. It was just simply to get on here, give our thoughts because we're part of this gaming atmosphere and whatnot, and we keep up with it for the most part. So, if it catches on, it catches on, however long that may be. But for now, we're absolutely doing it just for fun and convenience whenever we're able to talk about something. So, thank you for listening. Give us feedback, ratings. Go follow our socials on Twitter/X. And then, Anchor, listen to us on Spotify, listen to us on YouTube, the Believe You Don't podcast. And we'll end it there. And the famous saying, you can continue to believe us if you don't. Peace.